So the biggest tip that I could give you is do something every day. Every day, do something. A lot of you are working and have children, but if you just are so exhausted all of the time, and you just have to do something every day. Start the load of clothes while you're getting breakfast going. When you come home, get the clothes in the dryer, that type of thing. You have to do something every day. It's like breathing. Cleaning is like, you have to kind of think of it like that, because you will get buried. So I was watching the Today Show, and they said the dirtiest place in your house, what do you think it is?
Doorknob.
It is front door knob. The front door knob. I never think of my front door knob.
No.
I know, so now I do. So disinfect all your doorknobs, all of them. Why not? Your faucets. And I would do that in the winter, especially a lot. So, and you can use vinegar. You don't have to have expensive cleaners, but you can use your, use your favorite. Inside your microwave.
Oh.
I know. This is the easiest thing to clean. Come on, you dirty microwave people. Take a big bowl, put some water in it, and a couple of teaspoons. I've never used this, but I read this because I was doing this. A couple tablespoons of vinegar. Boil the water. Oh, and also put a toothpick in there, because have you ever heard that water can explode? Okay, very dangerous. So warning with this. So if you put a toothpick in it, it won't explode. So that's one tip. Get it boiling, let it sit there for as long as you like. Open the door, it's all steamy and stuff just wipes. It's awesome, it's awesome.
These are some of my secrets that are not that spectacular, but did you know this is one of my best friends for baking cookies? The reason why is a lot of people get their cookies all dried out because they put them just maybe on a plate, maybe cover it with some foil or something, and it's not a good seal. I always put my cookies in here, and they stay super, super fresh and soft because it's totally sealed. I know that's like the easiest thing ever, but it works. This is flaxseed. I get it at Costco. Any baking recipe that you have, almost any baking recipe you have, like cookies, cakes, even some kinds of like fancy dessert breads or anything like that, you can cut out half the butter in almost any baking recipe and replace it with the same amount of ground flaxseed, and you're fine. Because when the ground flaxseed is like an oily based kind of thing, and it's so much more healthy for you. Cut out all this saturated fat. So like in a cookie recipe, even if you didn't want to use my recipe, but you still wanted your sugar in there, you can replace half the butter with the flaxseed, way healthier, way, way, way healthier. Omega-3 is in here, yeah, never stored. This is one of my best friends for baking that I found. Do any of you ever make homemade rolls or something where you're using yeast and you have to knead, or maybe you're doing biscuits on a counter? And I always hated cleaning up the counter afterwards. Have you ever, like, all the dough's kind of stuck to the counter, and oh, it's just a mess. Silicone mats, I mean, they're super cheap, they're super easy to clean, and your counter stays clean. And then I just take this over to the sink, scrub it off, let it dry, and we're all done. And the counter, I don't have to try to get all this sticky dough off the counter. So that's been one of my friends. So here's my tip about cookies. Don't add too much flour, and don't overcook them. Take them out way early where there's just the tiniest hint of gold around the edges. And then they're nice and soft in the inside. Just don't. Before you start cooking, always get all the ingredients out, because then you won't be going like, oh, I'm halfway through and I don't have any eggs, or you know what I mean? So I always just try to get out all the ingredients before I start, and it's very helpful that way. Actually, preheat the oven when it says to preheat the oven. That's always good. Because, I mean, it'll affect your baking, especially if you put something in and the oven's not heated up all the way. Clean as you go, that's a really good point. Man, there's nothing worse, right, than cooking this whole big meal and then having this disaster awaiting you at the end. It's so depressing, and that's when you say, honey, could you clean up? Because it's just overwhelming. So I really do try to just pause for a moment and just put away what I just made a mess in. Yeah, I just got a measuring cup dirty. I try to like rinse it out and put it in the dishwasher. So I just don't have this big, old, cascading mess all over the counters, right? Okay, here's a little tip that I have, and it's kind of a little hard to explain, but I back time when I'm going to be cooking, and I'll explain what back timing is, especially if I have a complicated dinner. Okay, so if we're going to eat at 6:15, okay, my rolls, if I want them to come out at 6:15, when do I need to have started kneading the dough? And when do I need to start actually mixing the dough? And I start to back time. Oh, okay, I need to start that recipe 2 hours earlier. I write that down. And I'll even write down on a piece of paper, you know, okay, an hour into it, you know, at 5 o'clock I need to knead the dough, and then I need to form the rolls, and then they need to rise another 30 minutes or whatever. And I start to just write all these things down, and it's like my guide for the whole afternoon. Okay.
And the two words that came to my mind were containers and labeling. So I've narrowed it down. That's all I'm going to share today. Because organizing is huge, and there's so much I could share. But so I'm going to share. I think that's why she might have said that, is organize containers and labeling. So I'm going to just share some tips. And I love free. The price is right. And I've used this so much, and it just sounds like, you know, Patty and Deborah were sharing, like some of our ideas may sound so simple, but I'm just going to throw them out there and take them or leave them. But every place of employment has these kind of boxes, because this is what your computer paper comes in, and they're free. And I work in school, so I asked my custodian to save them for me. They're the best way to organize. But now, that looks kind of messy, right? This is what you need to do, and it's just so simple. It's just cover it with cardstock and cover this, and all of a sudden it looks so uniform.
It does, it looks nice.
It just really changes it. And these, I can stack these 4 high, and they don't look messy. And that's how key to organizing is to, just like Patty was saying, like when you walk into some place that it doesn't look all junky, that it feels like there's serenity and order. So I label a lot. Probably because I have a horrible memory, and it really helps me remember where I put everything. So my best friend is this kind of tape. You buy it at Costco, 6 to a roll. I cannot live without this tape. And permanent Visa V pen, or Sharpie, you need those. So when I label, you know, labeling with the computer looks great. I just don't have time for that, and my life's super busy. So I use index cards, and this is like a little teacher trick. You've probably seen it. So if you think you don't have very nice writing, just write the word. So here's an example. Just write your word, and then wherever you put dots. Have you seen that dot writing? And it just really, so just showing you the difference. So you just put a dot everywhere, you know, at the end of the letters, and it just, for whatever reason, it makes it look good. So like for holidays, I would say like here Easter or Christmas or whatever, and then I use a little index card, and I write exactly what's in this box. This is an example. Like here's my laundry room. There's a shelf here. Now I could just stack up all the, you know, liquid soap and the bleach or all the things you use. But what like I've done is I have the same things, but I just put them in this cloth basket, and you just walk in there. It just feels really sleek, I think, and clean lines. Also look around your house for like ways. I think people would say when they walk through my house, it's like you know how to use your space wisely. A lot of people, like they need more storage, and then they just keep adding like more pieces of furniture. But I recommend walking through your house and thinking, how can I use my furniture different?